Hello class, today I'm going to teach you about making a weaving using a cardboard loom and yarn. You need some supplies. The first thing you need is a piece of cardboard, several balls of colorful yarn, a pair of scissors, a black marker, and a weaving needle. This has an eye and a point. Step 1 is to write your name on the back of the cardboard. Just like so. Step 2 is to put your cardboard in front of you lengthwise, or tall man. Some of you may know it as tall man because it's tall. Take your scissors, and at the end of your cardboard, you can see where I have already started, you're going to cut away from the edge of the cardboard about 1/4 of an inch, up to the center, about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch, but no further. Make little cuts all the way across, trying to keep your spacing even until you get to the end. Your cardboard should look like it has little teeth. Now, go to the opposite end of the cardboard, and I turn my cardboard around because it's easier to cut this way than to try and cut towards you. Again, cut about 1/4 of an inch away from the edge and about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch deep on the cardboard. When this portion is completed, you can put your scissors away. You do not need them right now. The next step is to get 1 ball of yarn. This color doesn't have to be specific because it's going to be kind of hidden within the weaving. Have a length of yarn that hangs in the back. This is going to be kind of like a tail. Floss it between a tooth so that your yarn is on the front of your cardboard. Go in a space, come behind the tooth, and back up, in between. Don't go back down the back, or else you will have to redo your project. Twist your yarn up the front again, into the tooth, behind, and in between the tooth again. Staying on the front of the cardboard. Come behind and go up. Behind, come back down. Floss, behind and in, until you get all the way to the very end. Now, we need to cut this yarn because we don't need this hanging on here. Get your scissors back. Again, cut a nice long tail, and you're going to tie the 2 pieces together. Cross them over, tuck it in and pull it down. Make a loop, go around and back through. Now I'm making a bow on the back of mine so it's easier for me to untie. Very good. Now, we need to decide what color of yarn we are going to use first. In this case, I'm going to use blue. Pull a length of blue yarn off of the spool and get your weaving needle. This yarn, put the eye sideways and poke the yarn through the eye of the needle, pulling it out just slightly. Here's the fun part. We are going to take our needle and we're going to go under, over, under, over, under, over, and under. Pull this yarn through. Leave a tail hanging out the end. You're going to repeat this process of going under, over, under, over. My yarn ended under this piece here. So now I want to go over. over, under, over, under, over, under, over. It is the opposite of what I just did. Pull the yarn through. Now here's a tricky part that some of you are going to have difficulty with. When you pull your yarn through, you don't want to pull it through too tightly. If you pull your yarn too tightly, you can see this piece of yarn getting closer to the next piece. I call that choking your weaving. We don't want to choke the weaving. Loosen it back up. With your fingers, pull the yarn down to the bottom so it's nice and close together. We're going to repeat this process several times until we have a wide area, maybe about an inch wide. Under, over, under, over, under, over, under. Pull through, making sure not to choke my weaving. Tighten it down and go back the other direction. Now on this particular project, I would like to see you doing an alternating pattern of colors. Well, what is an alternating pattern of colors? It's where you use multiple colors to create a pattern. In this case, I am using blue and green. I'm going to have a 1-2-1-2 pattern. I have already done so over here. Using the same kind of yarn, blue, green, blue, green. I'm going to weave this all the way up to the other end of my cardboard. When I have finished weaving all the way up to the end of my cardboard, that is when I get to take the weaving off of the loom. I hope you enjoy. Hello again. We're going to finish working on our loom weavings with the cardboard and yarn. Today I need a new tool. I need another needle, but this one is a much smaller needle. This is a needle that you can stitch with, and it's easier to manipulate than using the big weaving needle. You can see the size difference. Okay. I have finished my weaving with the 1-2-1-2 pattern, and I have all of my extra threads hanging off the end. But I have to get rid of those before I can take them off of my loom. The first step is to thread the needle with the yarn, and I'm starting at the end, like so. Okay, and I'm going to weave this over, under, because that's the opposite of the pattern I started with. So let's go ahead and do so. Over, under, and I'm going to go ahead and pull that through. I'm not all the way through my weaving. Okay, so I've pulled that through this way, and I'm going to go back the other direction again. This time I'm going to go over one and under one, pull it through, and then tuck the yarn down between the threads. Make sure you go between the threads, because if you go behind them, you're going to have a tail hanging out the end. Okay, so pull that through. I'm going to leave that hang there for just a moment because we'll come back and trim that off. I'm going to do this with each of my yarns that are hanging off, and then we can come back and trim, and I'll show you how to remove the weaving from the loom. You can just watch for a little while and see. What we're doing. Okay, I'll see you back in a few moments. Hello! We're back again with the cardboard loom weaving, and you can see I have finished off my edge. I've cut most of the pieces off, and I've left a few here on the edge so I could trim them now. So I'm going to go ahead and do so. You trim them kind of close to the edge, but you don't want to snip the weaving that you have. Trim those off. And you can save those pieces later for another project or discard those. Alright, now I have all of my pieces nice and neatly tucked in and trimmed off. Now I'm going to remove the weaving from the loom. Since this is cardboard, it's a disposable loom, so we're going to bend each one of these teeth that has a loop wrapped around it and pull it off. If you wove tightly enough, your weaving should stay together nicely. If you had a very loose weaving, you should go back and add some more yarn to it. Okay, here's the last one. I'm going to untie the bow that I made in the back and remove these. Okay, so now I have the loops on the end in this string, and I have the loops here and this string also. Okay, I'm going to thread this end of the yarn onto my stitching needle, pull it through, and if I go right back down the side, I'm going to undo part of my weaving. So I want to go right here in the top, and I'm going to go in and out of each of these end pieces of the loom, just as if I were weaving back on the loom. Pull that through, not too tight, because again, you still don't want to choke your weaving. And this time I'm going to make a knot. I can pull this up, pull that up, tuck this yarn in and pull it tight. I have a single knot. I don't know if you can see. There's a single knot. And I'm going to do it one more time. So I'm going to go over this loop, tuck it in, and pull it down tight. I can trim this end, adjust my side. Okay, so the end of my weaving. I'm going to do the same thing to this side over here. Thread my yarn. I'm going to weave this yarn in and out of my weaving. Pull it through, but not too tight. Once again, not too tight. Okay, and I'm going to make a knot. This one's longer, so I can use the needle to make the knot. I'm going to go through. I have a loop. I'm going to go back through the loop, pull down tight. Okay? So again, I'm going to go through, pull my yarn through. I have a loop, go back through the loop, and pull it down tight. Trim, and I can stretch my weaving out if I made it nice and tight, and I have a nice weaving.